Hey folks, this is Tully and welcome to round 2 of some game dev. We started this morning with a 2-hour stream in which we rambled pretty heavily on all the ways that we've been stuck for a couple of months. And then we decided to just start tackling a problem that I thought might be useful, which is and immediately choking and dying at the start of the stream. Okay, let's start that again. Hey folks, this is Tully and welcome to some more game dev. We are jumping in after the first part this morning where we rambled a whole bunch to figure out, that we're basically explaining that we've been stuck for a couple months and now we're moving forward. And we started on getting a map editor that is set up to import our TSVs. Technically tech that we had from older versions of like our game dev journey, but we brought it forward because we had removed it at some point and refactored a bit to generate a whole bunch of floor tiles throughout the entirety of the map. And then we are still using our raycasting system to raycast the environment, determining the height of the floor, and then generating a map based off that. That seems like it's a useful way of being able to quickly and rapidly iterate on map styles. So we can come in here and just be like, oh, I want to try having it so that there's another section that goes off like this. And then, we have another area that we could quickly build, save that out as a TSV and download, import, and then we would see all of those blocks appear just over here on this side. So pretty happy with that. Next thing we were looking at right at the end of this morning's stream was potentially setting it up so we could have the props on the edge of the map auto-generate themselves. I think at the end of the day, I'll always want to do a custom pass of placing all the props, or Drixie does a custom pass. Someone like hand tunes the look of this, but I think in terms of like getting things feeling more correct, I think it's going to make sense to throw in some kind of random props based off some simple rules, and then that can be a starting point for any map. So I've been thinking about how to do this while we took our 2-hour lunch break, and I think even though at the end of the last stream I dismissed it as probably not a great idea, which was coming in here and being like, oh, I want to mark these as like trees and these as stones, I thought that would be bad because then when we generate this TSV again, we're going to like regenerate the props even if we've hand edited it. But that doesn't have to be true. Instead, what we can actually do is we can say, hey, we can have it so the props are only generated if they haven't been generated before, and then we don't have to worry as much about like whether or not they're causing problems with like repeat generation. And I think it would be nice if there was some sort of system to like tell that like, oh, this would be a good spot for a tree because there's nothing behind it. And we might be able to do some sort of rule system like that eventually. But for the time being, it's probably quicker and easier just to prototype this idea by just like adding in a different symbol. And if it detects that symbol, it creates a floor tile, but also adjusts the props on top. So I think the first step here is going to be figuring out how do we access these prop objects? Because they essentially just have like some drop downs, and then we select something on these like stone 20, and that'll pick a stone that I think 20 is the pixel height is what we have set up for our naming convention. And so it just places that. The trick is, how does our map editor system that's generating all this floor grab one of these pieces and modify it? And I don't think that should be too difficult. We already have this generate prop tile that creates all of these. Does this keep a list of them? It has a list of prop options. It does not look like it. It looks like we kind of just fire and forget. We create all these props and we clear them by destroying all the children, but we don't actually have any way of storing them. That should be a relatively straightforward thing to do. We'll make a new private list of game objects, which will be our prop tiles is what we call these things. And then when we generate, we will make a new list of them. And then each time we load one of these, we'll want to add the object to the list. Now that's the most straightforward way of doing it. It also would be nice to actually have some sort of system to keep track of their indices so that we could more easily track them down. So it's probably better to do this as a dictionary. This is all at tool time, so it can be a little inefficient. I'm totally fine with that. Now, when we need to check things by their position in the world, how do we normally do that? It's been a little bit, still a bit rusty, because we definitely save this data out. We go through all these props and we figure out what each one is. And I think that's happening inside of the generate level data. Interesting. We do just load it up as one giant list of prop data. And then we just have a serialized offset. Yeah, so I think this is essentially our variable we use in these situations. So we'll take that. And do something like this. I guess that makes sense that we don't really worry about it for the core game. Like at like the timing of when we're doing this with our tools, it makes sense to keep track of all this so that we can more easily modify things. Oh, interesting. The way that we actually do it at runtime is we just make a dictionary with a kind of on-the-fly constructed object. Could we do the same thing? I don't see any reason why not. We should do that here. The actual construction of it. And then this is prop tiles. Okay, and then when we create the object, we should add it along with the XY. How do we normally modify that? What's the syntax for this again? Just like that, easy. Okay, so then we just put that in here, and that'll just be the XY position. Yeah, that looks fine. So we're creating a list of all the objects we create in a dictionary, which is set up with XY positions as the dictionary to track and find that object. Okay. Let's see. I've got this set to public, but it's a dictionary, so we won't be able to view it in the editor. Yeah, we can just have confidence that it'll work and move forward. I see the hydration unlockable characters. Appreciate. So if we have the objects stored, which will not be true of existing maps, this will only really work for new ones, but if we clear all of these and regenerate, ooh, we do have issues. Multiple props with the same key. Interesting. It starts immediately. There's an issue with the timing of this, I think. Okay. I think because we're doing this XY thing at the end, I think it's already set X and Y to 16 by the time we get here. So we need a different object that we need to hold on to. It's a bit weird, but I think I understand. So this is a bit of a hack. Let's do the serialized vector instead, or we could do a point. I think a point is another data structure we could use, because a point is just an int xy. Sure, we'll use a point. And this will be a new point object with x and y. This should run into the same problem, I would think. But let's give that a shot and see if it does. I'm curious. Clear, generate. Yeah, same problem. So then, if instead we made a point new key equals new point object of x and y, and then we set this value to this, does that time out correctly? Just working off instinct right now. Clear, generate. It does. Sure. For some reason I'm like, I've run into this problem enough times that I know that that'll work. Why exactly it works, I don't know. So no errors. So we can assume that it's now generated a list of prop tiles with these correct values. So with that being something we can access, we would need to have a reference to the prop stuff at the top level here, which is fine. We can make another variable here for the generate prop tile, and we can have a reference to that. And then where we're generating the floors here, we could detect if this is a different case. So if this is T for tree, we could do a get on the... I guess we're going to write a little bit of extra functionality here. We're going to need some sort of like function ideally. We'll put this at the bottom down here, which is public get prop tile, and that'll take in an X and a Y. That'll return the prop tile object. And then we just need to go through the dictionary of prop tiles, get... No, we just can do square brackets here. And this needs a new point xy, I think should be fine. And then return the object, but we need to get the component we care about, which is the prop tile. Realistically, if we want to save a little bit of operation time, we could do this and store the prop tile. Then we can modify it here, and then instead of saving the object, we can just save the prop tile, which means that we need to change the dictionary to be storing prop tiles instead of objects. And then here we don't need this get component because we're going to already be accessing a prop tile, which we can just return. Okay, so then assuming our coordinate systems are still flipped here because the way that we read the string is backwards from what we would expect, it'll be YX, which is confusing, but it is what it is. That'll give us access to the prop tile for this specific spot in our TSV file. And then from there, we want to load something. So we might want to do the center prop loader and then load at a specific transform. How do we normally load these? It's a transform of itself. Okay. The prop loader takes the prop tiles transform, and then it takes the reference to the generated prop tile when it does a load. And this also happens on update for that prop tile. So if we want to update these, we just want to modify the index, because if this thing gets load call on it, all it's doing is checking to see if any of the parameters have changed, and if they have, then update them. Which I've been thinking about that for a while. I feel like I might want to change that at some point, but for now, let's just assume that we're going to change the option index. Yeah, so we want to change the option index. And the option index is corresponding to the list of populated prop options. Yeah, these prop options. Okay. Okay, so let's assume then that we're just going to change the index option for this thing to say 2, which should be some random prop in our list, assuming the list is at least 2 long. And then we should just be able to do prop tile.update, and that should have everything work. Yes. Perfect. Let's give that a shot. Hello, Smiley YouTube on the YouTube side of things. Asking the question, is this game code? Yes. I believe, if I recognize the username, you have returned with some of the Minecraft stuff. We have been doing game dev for a number of years, but we haven't done it recently. I've been in a bit of a rut, which I talked a bit about in this morning's stream, but the quick recap is for the past 3 months I just haven't really been able to move forward with the project very well, and we're trying to get back on track. Minecraft stuff will be coming at a later point. We've got more content, but for today, mostly game dev. I will say, not everyone's cup of tea. I will not be offended if it's not for you and you dip. But we're kind of just going through and working on the map editor and trying to make it so that we can more easily generate and fail faster at kind of level design stuff. And currently changing it so that when I come in here and I modify these things, I can generate these billboarded props in the space. And I'm trying to make it so that when we modify the TSV version, or the kind of like text version of the map, we can come in here and add like a T. And if we add kind of a T value in here, save this out, and then import it, it should generate a random prop, is what we're trying to get to. That's the quick recap. All right. So where are we at? So we've got it so we can access this thing from inside of our script. We should probably download that, which we'll do off camera over here on the other screen. So we'll download, save over the TSV file for this scene, and then we can do a generate from TSV, which broke. Okay, that's fair. And that's because we didn't hook up the reference. So we need a reference to the props. So that'll be this thing here, and we'll try again on that. Same problem. Null reference. Interesting. We've definitely dragged that in. That should be the correct one. We can try clearing and regenerating this in case the data has changed. I don't think it should have, though. That should be fine. Generate. Okay. Okay, so something was off. I would assume that we had made some modifications that required me to regenerate the base script here, but regardless, that's working. So we have these three tiles here, 11, 10, and what looks to be 9, 13, which is coming in from here as these three tile locations. And it has found and dropped off all of the appropriate... Okay. Stop and think. Okay, so we have found these tiles and we have modified them to have what I'm going to assume is index 2. Yeah, because this would be 1 or 0, 1, and 2. So it found round bush and it set these to be the props that it'll load. Perfect. Couple of problems. 913 doesn't actually have a floor. So we probably want to make it so if we modify and make a prop, we want to assume that we want a floor there as well. So inside of the generate from TSV file, thanks for stopping in, Smiley. We can also assume that we want to do this code here to generate a floor prefab at the same time. That should be an easy change. If we want it to be fancy, we could also generate from TSV. Ooh, we failed again. Failed to find object. Okay. So something is happening here where we are not holding on to our reference of props correctly. Let's do some... Let's do some debugging. What is happening at this point? What is this list? And is it something we would expect? Let's leave this up, minimize, and then Unity's going to have a thought. Yeah, this should become an archived video. I don't think I'll edit this down in the same way I've been doing like the Minecraft editing, which has been very fun, but I think I don't think this can work the same way. I mean, it probably could, but it would be a fair amount more work, I feel like. All right, so we're hitting this point. Yeah, prop tiles is null. So if we have to regenerate every time, then this isn't going to work. How come you're losing the data? That's interesting. That's super interesting. Okay, so let's clear all of this, regenerate. That should have made the list. Then we can generate from TSV, The data is there. There's 256 of them. There's some amount of warnings, which is fine. And that's finding the next prop in the list. Continuing forward. Okay, so that worked this time. So then the question is, if I hit generate again, looks fine. Let's modify another one of these randomly in the map. Download. Save over the old one. Replace. Generate. Oh, interesting. So this is where I asked it to generate. We can show that here. But I added this value for another T for tree. Maybe this gets changed to P for prop or something eventually. But it... generated the tile floor in the right spot, but it did not place the prop in the right location. We can clear this. Then if we come back over here, yeah, it keeps putting it there. So something about the way that it's reading the prop data isn't quite correct. Was that true of the other ones and I just didn't notice? So this prop here is 2 away from the edge. And yeah, everything's 2 off. Okay, so the coordinate systems between the props and the floors don't match. All right, so I think this is 2-2. Is it an off by 1 issue? No, I guess we can see right here that it's off by 2. I don't know why those coordinate systems don't match. Maybe there's something more fundamental and foundational that we could change about this, but let's just minus by 2 on these and see if that fixes it. Now, when we reload here, Unity's doing a big think. I'm imagining it's possible we could see the same problem here where the array has gotten set to null. We do. So whenever Unity has a long thought, where it's just like, it's regenerating basically. Anytime Unity re-imports, we're losing the data in this dictionary. Why? Why is it not maintaining this information? We haven't hit this generate again. We've hit other buttons, but not this one. Is there something else that could be setting this to null? Not really. Is this prop tile serializable? It is. Is point serializable? It is. Yeah, because it wouldn't work otherwise. We wouldn't have it work even on the first attempt. And just to check again here, the error that we're getting, if we hit generate from TSV, yeah, this dictionary has been set to null. So it's completely lost that data. This is all happening at runtime. So we could let this just be slow. Does this prop tile have any concept of its position in the world? Like when we generate the level data and we load all the prop tiles here, this just adds the prop tile directly. So there must be something in here that determines core tile. This is about a core tile's data. Save tile map. Loop through all the children. We just use their position, the transform position of the object as the storage point. I guess that makes sense. Okay, so what I'm thinking then is we can just keep a list of the prop tiles, and then we'll leave this as public, because Unity will be less likely to delete it on us if it's a public object. We will just leave it as a list of prop tiles. We will do just an add, and then we don't have to worry about any of this point stuff, which was a nice lookup. But then here, when we go to try and find the prop that we're looking for, instead of just being able to do a indice search with the dictionary, essentially, we're gonna have to loop through all the prop tiles until we find the one we're looking for. Again, not ideal, but this is only happening on my side to generate data. We would never do this for like the end user when the game is actually running. So what are we doing? We're checking if the prop tile.transform.position.x equals the x value, but we know that there's a weird offset, so -2. Sorry, not equals, equivalent. And the prop tile.transform.position.y, that's actually z in this situation, is equivalent to the y value passed in -2. Then we want to return this prop tile. I shouldn't have to do it this way, and I'm not thrilled about it, but I believe this will work. There's potential for like floating point nonsense and things, but I'm willing to just accept that this should mostly work. If we fail, we're going to just return null. That means we now have to accept that null is a possibility here. If prop tile equals null, continue, should work. I think I want to do this the opposite way. We're going to make it so that if it's not null, we do this operation. And then I think I'm going to just remove these last two lines of code, so without a break statement, it'll fall into here. Are you going to complain about that? It says I can't fall through. Never mind. We will leave those two pieces of code. Save. Okay, so now we're going to have to regenerate the props again. If this doesn't work, we could just search all the children. All the children objects under the generated prop list. But this should work now. So if we hit clear and we hit generate, that should make 256 of these. This is going to confuse Drixie, so we're going to maybe do a hide and inspector. Yeah, hide and inspector might be useful here. But now with that done, we can try this again. Okay. So that generated everything, but it did not find the tiles, it looks like, because we didn't hit any of these, and they're not set to whatever it was, bush 20. So okay. 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 So, step by step. When we go to get the prop here, let's see what's happening. We're going to try and find one. We're going to do generate from TSV. And then we're going to check through all 256, looking for prop number 7 on the X and 11 on the Y. These have 0.5s on them. Sure they do. Oh, I hate this. Oh, I hate this. This is the problem with doing it this way, where we're checking against the position, because the coordinate systems just don't match. And now we're going to get into more potential floating point errors. Alternate solutions. We could be storing the positional data of each of these prop tiles on the prop tile, so it has some sort of like point value associated with it. I find that hilarious. So because we're now in the positional coordinate system, we don't need the -2 stuff, I guess. Sure. So we could store the values on the prop tiles. We would have less issues. Yeah. Clear, generate. I'm just going to start over. Ooh, that failed. Oh, we're not clearing the list. Generate. Okay. That is working, though. The coordinate systems are really weird, and everything's kind of like I'm not thrilled about. But it is working. Okay. I'm going to leave it and move on. Tools can be a little bit broken. If they break, I can fix them. A user isn't going to see these problems. This is for my own sanity, to make my life a little bit easier. I can let my code be a little bad as long as it works at the creation time. Yeah, that's what I'm going to tell myself. Tools can be a little bit weird, and this is weird, but it's fine and it functions. So, a couple of things. I want to make it so this thing here is cleared whenever we call generate. And for safety, we will also do a clear when we call clear. Realistically, are we not already calling this when we hit generate? We don't. I guess that makes some sense. Yeah, no. There's a good chance we're supposed to be just calling clear up here so that it deletes all the objects before we generate more. Yeah, that's probably not a bad change to make. And then we're going to do hide inspector here. So this will still be a public variable, so Unity should be more likely to hold on to this data. Realistically, we could just check all the children as well. Just gonna go through the process, make sure it's still working. It is. Good. What are the errors we're seeing? Okay, I think that's just an old one we hadn't cleared yet. So that's placing the props on the right locations. So we've got it to the point now where we can put a value in our data, and then when we have that value there, it will make a floor and it will find the associated prop in the same location and it'll modify it in a fixed way. Now we want to make it so it randomly modifies it in a couple of different ways. This is where the rules are going to start coming in, and we can be as flexible or as basic as we want here. So here, when we say T, we essentially want this to be a tree option. So I think what I want to do here is I'm going to, from the generate prop tile, I'm going to make a list of strings, which I want to be like tree options. And when we say that we want to pick an option index here for this, we need to find a mathf random. Is that right? Mathf.random. Oh no, Unity has it as random.range. And we want to do something between 0 and the tree options count, so the total number of options in the list. Tree options dot count. Oh, right, this is inside of here. And then from this list of options, it wants me to use random.range, sure. We want to pick one of these. So this will be a integer value of index equal to that random range. And then we will find that index value. And then from here, we need to figure out what spot that is in the list. Of prop options. This should all be inside of this class. Integer, this will be an index. Get tree random tree prop index. So we are going to go through the tree options list. We're going to find a tree option. We are then going to loop through all of the prop options. So for each, actually for int I equals 0, where I is less than the prop options count plus I, find the prop option that is equal There's a better way to do this, but I can't think of it right now. But we're going to just check to make sure the strings are equal, essentially. We're going to make sure that these are the same thing. So when we find one that is the same, we will return I. Sure. If we get to the end here and we haven't found it, we're going to return -1. Now in here, we will say the option we want here will be a random tree prop from our generated prop tile class thing. Okay. And this is going into the center option. So this is still not really getting into the rules of when it chooses what. It's more just like a starting point of like, hey, I want to have a certain number of props that I can determine as trees. And so we'll grab some of these and we'll say maybe we'll do this one. Maybe we'll do this one. Maybe we'll do this one here. We'll do these 5, okay? Now, clear, 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 clear. We should be able to regenerate, and it should pick a random tree from the 5 that I've chosen for each of these. Are these random trees? Tree 3, tree 2, tree 2, and tree 2. I think there's a little bit of weirdness where these are somewhat similar. It did end up picking the same one for 3 of them. If I hit generate again, what happens? Okay, it overwrites them. So each time we hit this, it is choosing some random props. The variance is not as nice as I would like in some spots, but also it's random. Sometimes it'll pick the same things. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I thought would happen. It's working as I intended. The next problem is, like, some of these trees are overlapping each other. And that's kind of where we would come in and go, oh, you know what? I like this tree here, but I would like it to be back here. So we'll do round tree, the same one, but then move it to the back option. And now they're not having as much overlap. And that's where the hand editing will come in. But we can potentially do a little bit of randomization on that front as well. I mean, technically it doesn't even have to be random. I can have control over this. Because I can put whatever I want into these values. So T could stand for like just center. We could even do like center tree. And then we could do, well, getting too wordy in here makes it kind of difficult to like quickly edit. I mean, we still can. But like, obviously I've made these pretty small. We can change all of them so that they are gonna cut if they're too large. But then it becomes hard to tell what's what on this grid. So I still like the idea of this maybe just being 2 letters. So we can do like CT for center tree, and then we can do BT for back tree. Maybe it should be the other way. Whatever. And then this would allow us to come in here and do back, center, center, and then we could even do another back there, maybe another center here, center, and we could do something like that. Download TSV. The code is still broken. I am aware of that. We will fix that here in a second. So it's complaining about the prop tile stuff. That's fine. So we can pull that outside here and just figure out what the prop tile is at the top level. That gets rid of the errors about scope. So then, instead of modifying the center for this one, we could modify the back prop loader. Same way. that is mostly working. Let's also, I can also edit this in VS Code. Actually not sure how to reload. Let's find the file. I don't know if this is any faster, but it feels like it might be faster in some situations. So I want to just explore it. So if we come over here, we just edit this directly in VS Code. We could just go like that and then regenerate here. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. That, it worked, I just don't have it clearing, so these are all set to back, so that would be what we end up with. So in theory, if we hit play, this should all just be working. Yep, those are the trees that I asked it to generate. So I guess there's a couple of things here. So this is the most bare bones version of this. But it does allow me to like quickly kind of just generate some variants of the props. And then if I want, once I'm finding something that I'm kind of happy with, I could come in and start like adding extra bits. So I could add like this bush to the front, or here I could add in behind like a log of some kind. And then when we save that, we'd be able to go through and see that modifications. But I guess I would want to have the ability to regenerate everything, and then I might want a button to just be like only generate unmodified props. Yeah, I think I want a little more control here. So in this section here, right now we're hitting generate from TSV. I think instead of doing this all in the generate from TSV, I think I might want two different buttons here. We can have a generate from TSV, and then maybe there's the same logic happens. I don't know. I'm just like unsure of like the use patterns that I'm gonna want for this. So rather than trying to predict what I want, I think I'm just gonna leave it kind of at this state, and let's continue building out rules. And then once we have more rules, I'll start to figure out how I want to use this. So we have it so we can generate some trees, and we can choose to set a value to say, hey, I want some trees to be in the front or the back, and I can kind of choose that. It'd be also nice if it placed bushes randomly as well, which can be on the front layer. So we have some grasses here that we can choose. We also have a number of different like props that can just go in front, as well as some stones that potentially work sometimes as well for like these pieces to be in the front of these trees. So I think what I'd like to do is make it so that for each of these tree ones, we can also let it randomly choose from some of those as well. Sure, let's give that a shot. So right now these are both modifying center and back. Let's make a new one of these functions, and we'll name it getRandom, and we'll do random bush prop, and then we're going to need a list of those. Okay. And then for the front tile here, we can do this here and here. And this will add one in front of every single one. But I don't know if we'd even want that. We want to... Oh, right, we have scrubs too. Let's do... What are the different ones here? What would I want for options? We have... I think I like 20. Ooh, that's a good one too. 24 orange. Red is a bit too extreme for, like, that's more of an accent piece, I feel like. Similar to this large leaf one. That's an old one that Trixie doesn't like, so I'm going to try not to use it. 28 seems good too. So 20, 24... 20... No, sorry. This 20, this 24, and this 28 would be good ones. So here, we'll add this one. This one. And number 28. And then we'll also, even though these aren't bushes, I just want to see how it works if we just add some stones as options in here occasionally, and maybe some of the grasses. We'll try... Ooh, which of these scrubs is my favorite? One of these I really like. 16 is really good. And 26 is also good, so we'll add those as well. $16, and I believe I said 26. Bit risky modifying this without copy and pasting. And then there was a couple of different grass props that also work really well in the front of kind of some of these tree objects. These ones. We can do this one, and I believe I saw another one which was 2. Okay, so then if we come back in here and we hit generate, that's just gonna like pick some random trees and place some random bushes in front. Okay. And again, I don't think this would be ever as good as like hand picking all of these, but if I can just like place a bunch of this stuff in TSV and just have it like kind of pick some stuff, that gives me a good starting point and be like, oh, I don't like how there's like this grass here doesn't really work in my opinion, so I could leave here, click on this, and then modify this one to be, maybe I just want like a large stone here instead. I think that maybe looks a little better. It's debatable, but we could try that, and then we would move forward. Now the trick would be is that I might go, oh, but I want to modify something over here. So I might want to add some more props on this side. So let's do that. Let's come into our map editor. Let's add some more like trees. We'll add a back one, maybe center and center on either side of it. And then we'll download that. TSV. Save. Replace. But now if I was to hit generate, it would randomize these ones that maybe I'm liking this. Maybe I'm like, okay, I like this stuff. I don't want to modify these ones that anymore. Yeah, that's where this gets tricky, because I don't really have a way of like locking in sections and regenerating other sections. we can do this though. So what we can do is inside of the edit script, or inside of this prop tile script, we can come up to the top and we can have a new public bool for generate locked, and that can be false by default. And then I need some way of setting this to true to say, hey, I've locked this prop. I don't want it to be regenerated anymore. I'm happy with it. There's a couple of different scripts I could do this from, but let's assume the most logical place is here on the kind of parent class that holds all of the prop tiles. So here we'll make a void lock generated tiles, and then we will technically this thing doesn't know which tiles are generated or not. It's really only the map that knows. So actually, I guess it does make sense to happen here. So when we do generate TSV, I'm just going to try this. Let's add a lock mode, which is default to false. If lock mode is true, then when we find this prop tile, if it's not true, okay, we'll do it this way. If lock mode is true, then don't regenerate. Instead, generate lock is true. And if generate lock is not true, then we can re-randomize these props. This feels wonky, but I'm getting a better understanding. It's okay to like write bad code when you're working through the problem. I have to remind myself of that sometimes. Ah, hydrate from unlockable characters. I missed it. Let's wake up. We're making good progress today. Things are going well. We're going to move forward. Okay. Let's do this. So, we're generating here. We're setting these to locked if we've done the locked mode. We're going to add a new button at the top level here, generate TSVs. We're going to make a new one, which is going to be lock props. That'll do the same function, but in lock mode. There's some overlap here, but they're really different sets. I think it's a little odd to try and do this the way I am. I'm going to, instead of using a bool, just let them be different, and if there's shared functionality, I will figure out what that shared functionality is. Okay. Simplify, simplify. Okay. So this one becomes lock generated props. Okay. Then I need the editor. That's what I'm looking for. Here, this does this. This makes more sense. Okay. This is being shared and is identical across both sets. We don't need this logic anymore. I've held on to it long enough. If we need it, we can go back for it. I don't think we need this or this either. Let's get it functional, and then I might do some more refactoring. Okay, so then here, instead of checking locked mode, now that this is a separate function, we're just setting true. We are not generating the floor, and we're doing the same thing for this function. And then we're not generating the floor. Yeah. This temp doesn't matter here. Generate raycast makes sense. No, it doesn't. We're just generating or modifying the props. Okay. So, if I've done this correctly, which who knows, do we have errors? Why are we not seeing more buttons here? Okay. Let's generate from TSV. Okay, so that's a new set of data. Maybe we're happy with it, maybe we're not. Ooh, actually, there's so much overlap here. I think some of that stuff changed. That's an interesting problem that we're not trying to solve right now, though. I'm gonna make an assumption. Oh, I see what I did. I see the problem. Bad copy and paste. This one here is supposed to be back. Okay. And then I'm going to say that here, when we're generating, we're going to make sure that we set this to 0, which is clear for the front option. And then for the back option, we're going to set this one to 0. Just for now. Just so that we can clean up the mess we made with that bad copy and paste. Okay. Generate. Perfect. Okay, so we can generate all of this, and we can find something that we're happy with. Interesting. This one here, what was this position? That's a back set one. And for back props... still bad copy and paste. We want to flip these. So back prop should be a tree, and then center prop can be a bush in this context. Okay. Generate. So I can now hit this, trying to find like a kind of really basic starting setup that I'm like, yeah, sure, that looks good. Then I can hit lock props. Okay. If we hit generate again, that's making the floor, but we're no longer modifying any of the existing ones. The clearing of the floor is a bit weird though when we hit lock. I'm going to assume that's because we're deleting all the floors and not regenerating them. For this one, we shouldn't have to do that because we're not actually modifying the floor or adding any, so we can get rid of this code from this section. Okay, so we've now locked anything that is CT or BT in the file. So then if we come along and we decide we want to add more, and we're like, you know what, actually I want another prop here, and maybe we want to add a couple here. And we want to have not two next to each other, so we do this, because we don't want overlap. And maybe we even add another one here. We save that, and then we hit generate. That'll generate these ones in the back, and one to the left. Okay, so those ones have been modified. And if we keep hitting generate, we can keep seeing different modifications until we hit lock. And once we hit lock, it won't re-modify those props anymore. They are locked in. And then if we want to modify one of these and be like, you know what, actually I locked it, but I don't like it, I'd need to modify this. Okay, let's edit script. So show metadata is being modified somewhere. Ah, right, that's what this is doing. So I can go show metadata. This is showing all of the props. Generate lock is all the way down there. I want this to be a lot higher, I think, at the top. Okay. So if I want to unlock, it wouldn't be at the base level, which I think I'm okay with. I would click show metadata, unclick this, and then I could come back in here and hit generate again. And now it's no longer locked. I can hit lock, and it's locked again. And then I can come back in here, and if I wanted to, I could unlock it, and then continue generating. Perfect. Okay. And this gives me the functionality of like being able to very quickly make a variety of like maps. I can set a couple of these different key letter combinations to determine where I want to place stuff. I can modify them. I can keep hitting generate to randomize the kind of like prop layouts. And then once I'm happy with it, I can lock everything. And then I can go in and be like, you know what, I don't like this particular setup. I'm going to do that instead. And if I want to get super fancy, I can add like custom props and have them have like specific positioning in between other ones and like do some really crazy stuff with the prop editing system. But this is just like a throw paint on the canvas and see what comes out of it and then move on. We can fail faster. Okay, more rules. I'm happy with the way this is working, but I would like to have more options for when we generate. So right now we have this concept of CT and BT. I think I would also like, and can I really not just do this? Why is it complaining? No, that works. It didn't like the fall through, but I can do this. That simplifies. Let's also, I don't think we need this colon split right now. If we need to, we can come back to that. So what is this? This is just tile info. Like that. So we can get rid of this. Cannot explicitly change from string to char. So that becomes that. But I also don't think we need this here. I don't think this is doing anything. So I think this could just be that. And I think all this code still works. And that's true up here as well. So all of this gets removed and replaced with colon or column X. That all gets moved in. Oh, it needed some part of that I erased. This part. Everything else gets removed. And this here is column X. And then there, we don't need the temp anymore. This should still function, in theory. Let's see, generate. Yeah, that's modifying that one back there. And if I hit lock, then we are set. We might want to have a global unlock as well. So we could have this be defaulted to true. And then we could have two different buttons. One for lock and one for unlock. That way, if I ever make the decision to say, you know what, I don't like any of this. I dislike all of it. I don't have to go through and edit every single one. I can just hit unlock and then hit generate. And it modifies everything. Okay. It's possible I want to show the lock just on the base version. I don't know if I want to have to click this and then unclick lock every single time. And it's partly because I'm realizing I might also want to partial lock things sometimes. Like I might like just one set of like props and I might want to click a couple of them and lock them and then keep generating the rest around them. Yeah. I want more flexibility. It does, every time we add an extra like piece to the prop tile editor, it gets harder to read because there's more stuff there than it needs. Or it's got a lot more content. But I think this is one that's worthy of taking up a spot on the base version. Cool. That should be enough for the editor to show it. So now I can just click that. I don't know. We'll leave it. I think it's fine. I'm just thinking about when Drixie's doing map editing stuff, this might just be an extra layer of confusion, but honestly, it's probably fine because she mostly focuses in on the drop-downs. And I don't think she's ever had a problem with the show metadata tick box confusing her, so I think this is okay. Drixie's got it. I have faith. I'm just thinking there might be something I could do where I add like a, you know, show like detailed version and it like modifies several of these editors, but I'm gonna be okay. This is fine. We can, if it starts to get any more like, if there starts to be any more differential between like the generation version of the map and like the editing version, maybe we add some sort of like toggle, but for the time being I think this is fine. I think it is usable. Okay. Yeah, happy with that. All right, next set of rules. So the next set of rules are going to be around the front tiles, because these are rules for the back ones, but we kind of want to also have some setup for the front tiles and giving them a bit of texture as well. Here, I'm in the wrong script. My mind's wandering about other stuff, but I think this is good. Stay on point. So here we have floor. What do I want to name tiles that are... I guess this is just going to be like grass. And then I think I want to get a random bush prop for the center. And then for the back, I don't think this is going to work very well. But what if we just do this? We have the... Maybe it's the back and the front as random props. And then I'm going to come into here and we're just going to add some grass in front of where the floor is. Like that. And then if we regenerate, I mean, that did what I asked of it. Whether or not what I asked of it was smart is a different question, but I think I want more variety. I think we want another set of randoms. I don't hate that. I think this is working. It's a bit messy, and inherently it doesn't look nearly as good as some of the maps that we've hand edited, but hand editing those maps took a really long time, and I feel like this would just save so much time where it's just changing out the props that look weird. And spots where things are too high. This makes me wonder if we want like maybe like a height restriction for like, hey, don't use any trees that are above this height. because we always keep the pixel height of a prop in its first few digits. So if we look at this one, this is like a 96 round tree. We could have something that says, hey, don't, turn the split by underscore, and then for the first section, convert to int and make sure int is less than a certain value. And then we could have that in the kind of generation code as well. Or we just go in spots like this and we just make smaller trees. Yeah. That didn't lock, even though I hit it. That's because we need to also add this value as a lock. Okay. Didn't hit save? Yeah, it didn't hit save. Yeah. This is working. I think I want some more rules for being able to like create some more variety of tiles in certain situations. Like just back tree, center tree, and then like grass isn't quite enough. But this is allowing me to very quickly build out a lot of stuff. Now, why did it generate... Is that a mistake on my part? It is. This is off the map. Which is harder to tell when I'm modifying the TSV opposed to like doing it in Google Sheets, but this is feeling alright to modify it in that way. Yeah. Slightly confused on why this went all the way out to this area. Oh, once again, I've messed up. I see. This is too far out. Better. Okay. So, what if we were able to do some more rules beyond just grass? What if we had some groupings for stone? Oh, I'm trying to like add a list from like the editor. So what if we had like stone options? And stone options would need the same setup here. So we'd need to get a random stone prop. And then stone props would be like that. And there, and that should be enough. And then inside of here, if we're trying to generate something with stone, we would modify the back to be stone. Maybe actually what I want is here is equal to get stone prop index, and then the back option can be 0, and then this one can be still a bush. I guess actually what I want is like a grass set as well. So this is grass props. I feel like there is an opportunity to potentially use like the folder names as like what we're trying to differentiate here, rather than having like a second subset of lists. I'm just gonna reorder these so that they read back, center, front. Because that just makes more sense to me. Okay, so this is stone, this is grass, this is a back tree, this is a center tree, and then we need to make sure that S is getting its prop tiles locked in the same way. Then we just need to populate some of the entries in here. So we have a couple of different grasses. I would say maybe for the sake of simplicity right now, we just use the same ones we were using here. Scrub 16 is close to the same height. And then we can have these two different ones. And then for stones, we can do the 2 set. There's other stones we can use though. I also really like this one. I mean, I like a lot of them. Oh, it's the same one. I just want to be somewhat specific in which props we're grabbing at this point. So then, with that being the case, we can come back in here and we can change some of these to be stones in certain spots. So this is one that's set to stone. So this picked center stone front scrub. Which ones did I set to stone? Just that one. And then this one here. This one's too far out. All right. So this is stone, this is stone. So I think the problem here is that 10-2, the 10 size stone number 2 here is too short. I thought the pebbles were the small ones, but it looks like these 10 pixel high stones are just too short in front of the grass pieces. So we need something at least 20. Unless we want them to be further back. Okay. So I think I'm just going to delete these two. And this needs to be the other larger set of stones. And that works better. Again, hand editing a lot of this stuff would be best, but this is allowing me to kind of create some variety very quickly. Okay. We're going to change this. To two sets of grass props, and then we're going to add a B for bush, which can actually be get bush prop for, say, center. Back can be 0, and then this one I think I want to do another prop index random of pebbles and see how that feels. Is that right? Pebbles? Why does that look wrong? Sure. And then we can use this for the bush props. Okay, and then, ooh, that's kind of neat. There's not good weighting on this, but I guess technically if I wanted to have no prop be a choice that it can generate, I could always have clear be one of the options. So if we come in here, we can add clear as the first option, and then we can add some of the stones. So pebbles and pebbles 2. And then some of the 10 pixels high ones I think work as well. Okay. Now if we do generate, these all become grasses. Now here's something really neat I can do. in most situations, the prop tile is defaulted to have its walkable parameter set to be wall, and as soon as we add a prop, it means you can't walk there. But for these grass tiles, I actually don't mind the character being able to walk on them. So if we go tile type, we can set this to core tile type walkable if it's a grass tile when we generate it. And then if I hit generate, then this should be... That's walkable. That's walkable. Perfect. So if we hit save, we should be able to walk on all the grass tile locations. Perfect. All right, then we need to do the opposite though, because that means we need to say that anything that is stone is a wall, mostly for fear of us changing something from a G to an S and then regenerating. If it's a bush, then it would be a wall, and if it's trees, those are also walls. Okay. One other thing I've been thinking about as we've been generating this is, technically speaking, I can decide what the work in progress texture color is. So when we generate the work in progress texture, that's this one. We write the byte information, texture 2 encoded to PNG. Where do we decide the colors? We decide the colors here. If it's walkable, this is a different walkable wall setup. It's the same enum, but this is for the actual pathing for the tile map. But we're saying white is the default color. So when we use the actual floors, the ones that Trixie has worked hard to build, let's look at TO1. Show and Explorer. If we grab this base color, what is this base color? 75, 96, 86 out of 255. Okay. And that's RGB. Okay, okay. So if we come back in here and we instead do new color, this is going to be out of 1, so 255. It's not going to like that. All right, I'll do the math myself. 75 divided by 255 is going to give us this value, which we don't need that many significant digits, so let's cut it off around here. Probably, honestly, this is probably fine. And then 96 divided by 255 is going to be 0.38 if we cut that off at that digit. And then lastly, we've got 86. 86 divided by 255. Oh my goodness. 86 divided by 255. 0.34. 0.34 F for float. So if we just hard code that value for now, I think maybe this is something I might want to be able to choose. But if we do that and then overwrite the work in progress texture, that should now become this color. And then if we run the forest texture pass, that looks to be the right color. So now if we hit play, the ground should at least be close. Drixie will obviously need to do a pass and make it look properly correct with paths and everything. But this at least is better than the pure white. It's very basic, but it looks less broken. Okay. Out of curiosity, what are the other colors that we could use? I chose this one. No, I chose one of the lighter ones. The other option is we go with the floor kind of dirt color instead. I feel like that's going to look worse though. I just want to see. Compare. 90 divided by 255, 0.35. And then 69 divided by 255. 0.7. And 74. 0.9. I actually think that looks better to start with just because we have so much green from the grass pieces we're already placing. Yeah. It'll look better when it has a full pass, but I think that's a better starting color to work with. Okay. We need to fill in this area next, so we would need a new set of rules for that, I think. We're going to want a... We're going to want a new rule. So instead of CT or BT for back tree or center tree, I think we want ST for short tree. That all looks good. So then we will do a short tree prop index center. Because if we want it to be short, we want it to be a little more forward anyways. And then we can still have a bush prop in front. Okay, then the only thing we need to decide is what is the short tree props that we want to have in this list of options. So something in this lower section. This one feels too, like, set up to me, too groomed. I feel like I want something a little bit on the shorter side. Or maybe even not shorter, just like less maintenanced. I feel like this one could almost be more of like a courtyard than like a deep forest area that we're trying to go for here. Oh, I think I like that one a lot. That might still be too tall though. We'll give it a shot. What are some shorter ones? We have this stump we're using. This little tiny guy. The saplings are not in the right palette. Don't really like that stump one. Mossy stump is fine, but we're getting less into the short tree and more into like a different variety of props. So yeah, this might be my favorite. This one along with this one. Although this one's color scheme is a bit different from the others now. I feel like this is something that Trixie and I have still been struggling with, is like finding like what is a shorter tree in this palette. Okay, yeah, no, I don't like 64. I like the 70 open purple. No, 70. What's the purple one? Nah, not. That's more of like an accent piece. I don't want to randomly generate that one, I don't think. And then all these other ones are too tall. Huh. Do I only have one I like, which is this one? And I guess it's that one and along with this one. 68 round. Oh, and 48 round. Okay, let's go with those. See how that works. I'm not sold on 48 round just because its style feels a bit different now. But we'll go with open 68 round and 48 round. Okay. And then we can come back into here, and on this side we can do short tree, short tree, short tree, short tree. These bottom two are going to be off the map, so at this point we could probably do center tree, back tree. And then generate from TSV. I can clear this one. I'm not loving it. Let's just hit play and see what it looks like when we walk through. Because these might still be too tall, even if I don't necessarily love the way they're kind of connecting. The, like, actual functionality may not work either. Yeah, this is kind of cutting off too much of the path. These are all cutting off too much of the path. Okay, so I think realistically, these ones shouldn't even be short trees. These should probably be like stones, stone, And then maybe at this point you get maybe a short tree with one final center tree. Sure. Let's give that a shot. Yeah, I don't love how much this one's cutting off still. So I think that one could never be more than a short tree. And that's something that'll just come with, like, making more of these maps. Let's give that a try. And we have other props like fence posts and stuff that we can bring in as well. Like custom add in individual spots to kind of break up any kind of like similarities. Yeah, that looks better. And then the opposite side over here, I'd want probably the same kind of like arrangement. So over on this side, we probably want to do like bush, bush, stone, bush, grass, stone, bush, grass, bush, stone. Something like that. Oh right, multi-select is frustrating. Still not happy with the way multi-select works in general with our prop editing. Yeah. Let's just see what happens if we completely encircle the whole thing. So if there's floor all around the edge, then if we did like something like this. I guess technically, because grass is walkable in these situations, I wouldn't want you to go beyond the edge here. So I think that's a very quick attempt at like completely encircling all walkable tiles with some sort of prop. I don't think they're going to work in all spots, but I missed here. So this is outside the map, so this needs to be a tree, and this needs to be a tree, and then this could be a bush in behind here. Oh, I need to actually do the things. So generate props. That's done. Save. Also should overwrite texture and regenerate the floor as well, just at the same time. Yeah. Right, any kind of diagonal like this causes problems. And we've completely blocked off our view at this point. So this has to be a short tree, and this probably needs to be a short tree as well. This can probably be just a bush, and that'll probably work a little bit better. Oh, is this one locked? It is. And then I think that okay, so we have the ability now to very quickly and rapidly generate a map. We can just punch some values into a TSV file. It'll generate the floors so that we can actually walk, and we can also give it some like random kind of generation for some of the props. And they're not going to be as good as if I was hand placing them, but they at least give a general feel for a space. Like this feels way more like our forest area that we're trying to go for, opposed to just feeling like what was originally, when we started the stream this morning, a like white floor with no props at all. And like, yeah, it needs a lot of cleaning up. There's a lot of repetition. There's some overlapping textures that are a bit weird. Some areas are like not visible, but I think we've done a good job of keeping the player always visible, which is good. Okay. Yeah, there will always need to be a refinement pass, but this feels way, way better in terms of just like quickly mocking up a space and feeling out whether or not it is going to be interesting to kind of walk through and explore. What do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? I think the easiest thing to do is to attempt another one of these maps and make sure that these tools hold up. So let's assume that this is like one map. Cool. Let's make another one and see if we run into any problems with these tools before kind of figuring out and moving on to another task. So we're going to save as this as a new infinite retries, content, scenes, dungeons, forest, Work in progress 02. We are going to clear the map. We're going to generate. We're going to go here and we're going to clear the floor. We are going to copy our TSV. I guess we should start a new one. So let's go back into here. This doesn't even represent what we did anymore. So let's just paste over these sections. I guess we should decide where we're going from this original map. So I guess we can come in from this side. Sure. And then we will set everything else to blank. Okay. Starting a new room. So let's figure this out. Actually, I like it somewhat more centered. So we're going to start going out this way. Maybe it branches up a little bit. And we're just going to worry about kind of the general paths, and then we'll fill it in a little bit more after. Maybe we open out into a bit of a clearing here, opposed to the previous room we were doing, which was more of a kind of central like the path broke out in a couple of different directions and it was very linear and small. Let's try testing the system with like something that's a little bit more open. Try this. Maybe still try and put some dead ends in, and eventually it leads out this way and then down towards the edge of the map like that. Okay, this should be high enough that we can do some center trees, some back trees, center tree, back tree, center tree, back tree. Same thing here. This can be center tree. This is funny actually, because I think if we make this a back tree, it'll overlap with this one, but if we make it a center tree, it'll overlap with this one. We'll just do this. This should be fine. And then here we'll do, let's start with just bushes all along the outside to begin with. Like so. Trying to see the way that this is going to work. I think that has to be more like this. Okay. And then this kind of needs to be alternating between back, center, back, center, back, center. And then that means this needs to come out like here. Bushes around here. This can probably be like that. That shouldn't cut off our view to this section, I don't believe. And then just to be on the safe side, we'll do some bushes here. And then this whole section as well. Cool, let's download that. And we will name that our second map here. Work in progress 02, save. Okay, and then that will be what we generate from. So generate TSV. Yeah, that looks like it should work. Let's give that a save. And then we're going to want to set up our positions. So we're going to be coming in from this side still. This will transition from... this will want to go to W01. And this will go to W01. And these don't need to be modified. That's all fine. We can save this. And then this should still be going from North 02, which it is. So we should still walk in from this side of the map. Don't need to modify anything there. Problems. I'm going to guess we need to generate the floor. Is probably what it's complaining about. W02 final has been generated. Work in progress is busted. Okay. So we need to overwrite work in progress and then rerun this. Cool. And then we should be able to see this load now. We can go up this little alley. Enter into this clearing. There's like a little dead end over here we can walk towards. And then we can also walk down here. Little dead end over here. And then we can walk down along the edge of the map here, eventually kind of curving into another exit. Oh, we're still generating the 100% clear effect, even though we're kind of getting rid of that mechanic. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if the transitions work. So we'll go back to generate. I should add the extra import so we don't have to hit that button twice at some point. And then here, Dungeon Forest. Let's go back to Work in Progress 01. This has some transitions that are off the map, so we're going to get rid of those for now. Just turn them off because they're not working. We'll turn on South. We'll move these up to here. And then we will transition to W02 here and W02 here. And in theory, we should be able to walk between the maps now. This felt way faster to build a new environment. And way more fun than like clicking, like, I don't know how to describe that part of it, but like the aspect of like modifying these things in a spreadsheet opposed to modifying them inside of like the Unity editor and moving all the objects around. This just felt better to use. It's upset because I haven't added these things. Okay, that's fair. So project settings, add, let's do back to Dungeon Forest W02, save. I wonder if there's a way to automate this part of it as well, so that like when I create a new file, it like auto adds it to my build settings. That might be helpful. Hello, a loner wolf. First time chatter on the Twitch side. How are you doing today? Sweet. That worked. So we have moving between two maps, and we just made this map in maybe 10 minutes? Yeah. Yeah. No, and okay. So like modifying and adding these boxes in Unity just felt tedious. It worked. It was working fine, but it was kind of this weird thing of like, when we modify these things, it's a lot of clicking around, changing camera angles, whereas like doing it inside of like a Excel sheet like this just allows me to very quickly kind of just copy and paste these nodes and just see the changes very quickly. I can visualize everything, and then having it so that we auto generate some of these props, even if like some of this I don't like the way that this is like two grass tiles or two similar like shrubs next to each other. Like I'll probably want to go through and like hand edit a lot of the stuff and shift props around to make it more visually appealing. But at a glance, just being able to like be like, okay, I don't care, just put some sort of assortment of bushes or some assortment of trees and bushes or some assortment of like a stone with a bush in front of it, just allows me to very quickly see the map come together. Yeah, I think this is a marked improvement on our level design process. I've been saying it a little bit today, but I think this is going to let me fail faster, which is what I need, because I've just been stuck and I just need to be able to fail. It's the only way, because right now we're just not making progress because I'm in analysis paralysis, but this is going to let me quickly try different kind of environment layouts and build lots of rooms very rapidly. We're still stuck on the next parts though, which is how do we do ability acquiring? We need to do more stuff with combat. Like we can place enemies in here and have enemy fights, but like I don't feel like I've got a handle yet on like figuring out where the perfect spots to be placing enemies are and making it so that it's just not the same fight over and over again. And then like, what are the items we're finding? That's still like, we can make lots of maps, but if we can't figure out like make sure that the combat is interesting, and we can't make, if we don't have like a ton of stuff to be giving the player in these spaces, we're just creating a lot of empty maps that you can explore. And don't get me wrong, I think there's something fundamentally interesting, even from my own perspective playing it. I think there's something interesting about just walking through these maps and seeing the tiles reveal. Like, that itself is rewarding, but it needs some other pieces to keep from getting dull. Okay. So where do we go from here? We validated that we can make another map quickly. We can transition between the maps quickly. I guess one quality of life thing I might want to do before we go too much further is it might be nice to regenerate individual props. So right now we set this generate lock here. And each of these setups are essentially just like manually modifying the prop itself. What if there was an enum for each of these, which is like generated prop type? Okay. And let's say that of the generated prop types, there are center trees. Center tree is a weird term because this is all very specific to the forest. Let's just go with the actual acronyms. Like, tree is maybe a bad term for what this is. It's really a like tall object is what it is. So I guess that could be the T. Center tall, back tall, short tall. That's a bit of a weird one. And then this B is for bush, stone, grass. What are some of the other terms we have? Short tree, center tree, back tree, bush, grass, stone, and then there's floor. But floor isn't really a prop type. Okay. So let's say that we have this. And then let's also say that the prop can know what type of generated prop type it had. And by default, this can be some none value. So it can have no value set. And then inside of here, instead of doing all this logic right here, what if each prop could do it itself? It's a bit muddy, but I think I like this idea. So then we can say public update, or maybe this is even better as generate prop based on type. This doesn't have any parameters, I don't think. And then everything that we're doing here in this switch statement, I'm just going to grab the whole thing for now and cut it down as I need it. Everything we're doing here, I think, can be moved into this section. And then we're not going to worry about generating the floor for any of these. So that can all go from every one of these. Just gone. And then instead of operating on the column, we would operate on the generated prop type. And so each of these become generated prop type dot st. CT B G and S. Okay. And then instead of checking prop tile not null, we can do if generate lock is not locked, then we can do all of this stuff here and then call update internal. I think this just works. So what we'll need to do now is we'll need to actually, instead of doing all this logic inside of the other switch statement, the other switch statement just becomes simply setting the generated prop type for each prop and then calling this function, and then this function will deal with whatever it needs to in terms of updating. Why are you complaining here? Oh, it's missing a break, and it's also missing a bracket because of the way I deleted stuff. Please fix the formatting? No? Oh no, it wasn't missing a bracket. Okay, it was just missing the last one of these. Okay, so the red lines need to be removed. This whole section goes away. This goes away, and then last one. It's possible this could also be simplified into like a better set of rules that are like more flexible, but at least this is encapsulating the logic inside of this prop tile. So now each one of these cases just checks to make sure the prop tile is not null, and then it just sets the generated prop type to the associated one for this case statement, and then calls prop tile dot generate prop based on type. We no longer need to check the lock here. We're simply just making sure that we're not operating on a null prop tile. this becomes the same, but for CT. And then, you know what, I should probably just grab the whole if statement. It's just going to be easier, so we're going to grab this. And rather than copy and modify each time, we're going to do all the modifications and then, or do all the copy and pastes, and then we will do each of these enum changes separately. And that is them all set. Okay, so now what's interesting about this is because this is all happening inside of the prop tile, we can go into the prop tile editor and we can make a new button. This is where I'm starting to wonder if we want some extra logic on when this shows and when it doesn't show. But we're gonna say... if we are not generated locked, and the player pushes the regenerate button, that's how I want to do that. Okay. If we push the regenerate prop button, then we want to do... Does this... Oh, this one doesn't have an example. Something like this. Actually, I think we can just do prop tile because we're already casting it up above. So we can just do prop tile dot. And then generate prop based on type. So as long as the generation isn't locked, we can hit this button. And it should allow us to regenerate this prop based off of its initial values. But we've now modified that, so we have to generate from TSV, which would have set everything. And then if I don't like a specific prop, like I don't like this one maybe, I can just come in here and hit regenerate on it until I find a version that I'm like, ah, that's kind of neat. Oh. Oh, that's a problem. So something about the way we've done this is now not cleaning up the props correctly. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, it just keeps adding more. I hadn't noticed that on the first one. Okay. Unexpected. I have a feeling it's because the button is inside of this logic here, and this is already checking to see if the values have changed. So if I click this, I can see these drop-downs changing. Yeah, each of these sets of drop-downs are getting modified. So I think it might be calling update twice, but even if that's the case, I don't know why it wouldn't be deleting. I think there's a fundamental, like, brokenness to the way that I'm doing this system. Something about the way that I've built this editor. I've been noticing this over the last few, like, I was trying to fix a bug for Drixie because, like, undoing wasn't working properly with this system. And I feel like this is another highlight to how something is just fundamentally not set up correctly for this. I'm going to try... What is the one we're modifying? We're modifying a grass tile right now. Let's try not hitting update, because we already know that this button is going to be calling update internally. And then we might have to modify the generation that does like the mass generation for all these to do the update. Manually. So yeah, it's because we're calling update twice. And for whatever reason, it's not cleaning up correctly. Okay. That's silly, but okay. So we won't call update here because this can be called from the editor, which is going to call update at the end. So instead, we will just call this function, and then inside of here, we will call update still, because we know that this is not going to get double called. Well, I guess more accurately, we know it's not going to get called inside of the function anymore, so it must be called here. There's something fundamentally wrong, but I haven't put my finger on it. But this is continuing to highlight that, like, I think calling update inside of the editor script is not a good idea. And I might want to find a better way to do that, but I just don't have a better way of saying, like, hey, I've modified this drop down. I want to then update because this value has changed, and like regenerate the tree. I'd like spawn the prop. I guess I could use some sort of system that like is updating the whole map, and if something has changed and it's flagged as needing to be regenerated, it modifies, but I don't know if I have a reliable way of doing that. No. Okay, well, this is going to work for now. We can now come in here and we can hit regenerate, and when we hit regenerate, it's going to make alternate variations, but it's not going to make a ton of them. We do have too many here from when we were regenerating. Okay, that's probably fine. Cool. So, small quality of life, just the ability to not only regenerate this whole map, but also be able to click on individual ones and kind of spam it a little bit to be like, fine. And then when I want to do an even more higher quality pass, I can come in and add like custom props and add extra layers in between. And there's also props we're not using from the entire list of options. So if we want to have like this trunk, for example, isn't one of the options and I modified that one manually, I can come in and choose that one to be like, oh, I want this piece to be more unique and rare, so I will only place it by hand. Same way with if I came into here and I chose like this tree and I went to the round orange one, that's like a more unique one, and we can use some of these props as landmarks so that the player can get a better gauge of like where they are just by like which props are showing up on the map. Oh wow, we're already almost at the 3-hour mark, which is what I wanted this stream to be. Okay, let's just stress test things a little bit then. We won't have time to go into a whole other feature. We'll be back tomorrow, but I'll still go for another little bit here and we'll try making some other maps. Let's also change up this background music. Nope, we're not over yet. Sure, we'll go with this one. March forward. Yeah, so we'll build some more maps here, but yeah, tomorrow we'll have to come back with a new plan. We'll be doing the same thing tomorrow from 10 a.m. to noon PST time, and then from 2 to 5. And I don't know what we'll do tomorrow, but I feel like I've gotten myself at least making some progress this weekend, which was the whole point of these streams. Just feeling absolutely completely stuck and wanting to move forward. Is it faster if I just come in here and I just like copy this? Or even if we copied this one and then just renamed it and then double click it, opens up. We can add that to our open scenes. Yeah, that's good. Then we can come in here. We can then clear and regenerate the whole set of props so that we get a whole new set. I don't know if we even need to do that. It would mostly be if we had locked any from the previous room that we were like basing it off of. And then in here, we need to build a new room. So let's go into our TSV editor. Let's clear this. So we'll drag down, drag over, and then let's make this one a continuation of the last room going down. So we'll come in from this side, and then we can start anew in this section. And then I do think I maybe want to exit somewhere on this side. So then from here, we kind of had more of a windy path. Maybe this one comes in along the edge of the map like this, and then eventually kind of curves to this exit on this side. Just start by going with a straight line like that. But then perhaps there's also like a little kind of intersection like this that we could try doing and see how that feels. So that would be the basic floor plan. Then we would need to add some trees. So along the back here, we can very simply do something like this and then just alternate that pattern. And then this one can be a bush, and then we can go down the side here. So we can do BT and then a center tree and then go down along the edge, same way, alternating. So we get a ton of these trees. And then maybe along here, it's just some bushes and stones that are separating between. And then maybe we just do this for now. And then might be fun to also add a bit of grass to the center area. And then here we can go... We can't really do trees because that'll cover, so this does need to be also just a variety of bushes to start. And then we can replace some of those with stone. And then on this side, I guess because they're overlapping, we can't do anything too high on this side either. So this would also just need to be more interesting. So by having something on all sides, it means that we end up with pretty much the whole center map filled. So if we wanted to make this feel more cut off, we could do this and do that, and then we could delete the centerpiece, and then we would just need to have more of a connection here that's more to the right. Here, I think we might be able to get away with some trees up near the edge, and hopefully that shouldn't overlap because they should go more diagonal, so that should be fine on this side. And then on here, I think we just have to start with just bushes. We can always alternate later. And then this is just a straight line all the way across, which I don't love. Maybe we break this up a little bit with some grass. Maybe this area here, it feels like it's off to one side, and a bit hidden behind this short grass that you can just walk through. We could start here. I don't know how this is going to look or feel, but I kind of have something here that I like. So we'll download that as a TSV. Name that work in progress 03. We'll change the file name that we're going to generate to be that. And then we hit generate. And that is the map we just made in TSV. Okay. Then here, we're going to grab the west entrance. We're going to pull this over this way a little bit. We're going to make it so that we transition to W02. W02 for both of these tiles. W02. And then we'll make this be our starting tile if we load from this map directly. Wrong one. We want the spawn tile. West 02. We'll bring that in. And then we will eventually have this exit leading off to a different area that I think is going to loop back on the kind of starting room a little bit. But I kind of want to see what this feels like. So let's start here. Let's see what happens. If we hit play, we should be able to walk through this now. Right. I keep forgetting we have to do this. We also have to do the overwrite the floor and generate the final version of the floor as well. We can see that's now here. That's that texture. I feel like I should make that a automatic process for the very first time you run or you save the environment in a new map so that I don't have to remember to do this, but it's fine. It's not the worst step. So we walk along here. Let's zoom in a bit. We hit a dead end. We can walk along here. We can walk through this grass, or we can come up this way and we head into a bit of a clearing that's kind of completely enclosed. We can walk along some of this grass. Fill in that last little bit. And then we are out to the other side. Okay. And that doesn't go anywhere right now. Let's make sure the connections work. Let's do scenes, generate the menu. Let's go back to W02. Let's find our spawns. Let's turn on our south spawn, I think. Nope, east spawn. And then this is going to transition into W03. W03. This naming convention might need to be like changed to be like more like a chess notation or like a map notation. That's like A01, A02, so that each one of these rooms is like a grid. Because as we start looping in on ourselves, W05 might start leading to W01, and that's going to get kind of weird. But for now, this is still functional. So that should be working. So we should be able to go in here, start on the right-hand side, and work our way down, and then transition to the next room, and then head back up. I guess the reason it's confusing with the east-west is because normally we see it from this angle, so it does make some sense that this is east. But I often look at the map and edit the map from a non-isometric point of view. Yeah, so now we're in W03, and we can head back this way, and we should lead back into W02. And just like that, we have another space built. Cool. Yeah, that took about 10 minutes, if that. Maybe closer to 8. So I can build these rooms really quickly. I guess last thing I'll try here then, because I don't think building another room is really going to be... Like, we could do a whole stream of building environments. That's maybe what we do tomorrow, honestly. But before we go down that rabbit hole too far, because we're going to have to call it here soon, I'm going to do W01, create cutscene. So we're going to do the zone is going to be forest. The room becomes what? How do we name our cutscenes? Sequences, cutscenes. It looks like we used the last few words, so we would do, this will be W01. We can name this sequence name, so skill tree unlock was one. Here we're gonna do branching path, trigger name, set default trigger name. Perfect. This will be a movement based, I think makes sense. Ability response type. Let's take a quick look at not checkpoint, TO1 exit room tutorial. That had an end of turn response. That makes sense because this will trigger when we step somewhere. Well, how does the book one work in TO2 book? That was a, oh, response type none because it's an interact type. Man, it's been a while. Okay, so maybe we try none here. And we try making this like an interact. This will want to be a hero. North west to town. Danger south. East. Sure. And then let's say this is all fine. Close self, top center, maybe bottom center I'm visualizing makes more sense. Audio response. I think this will be a similar vibe to the book. And then dialogue medium should be fine. I don't think we'll need a small. Okay, so this should generate us a cutscene. So I haven't done this in a while, but if I hit create cutscene, this should make us a W01 folder with a branching path, with this dialogue entry as the only thing in the sequence, and this information that we filled in here being generated into this object over here. Now that we have that cutscene, let's go take a look at the Demon Castle room 02, because in here we had a book scene. This object is just interact read. So if we just grab this interact read, this first one should be more than good enough. This is under our objects called interact. Was this dragged in anywhere? It does not look like it. We'll just copy the whole thing. We'll go back to scenes, go back to the forest, back to W01, and then I don't have a sign right now, so maybe we'll actually just do center, decor. Ooh, we don't have a good option actually. I don't think we have anything. I guess I could do like a chest for now. But I kind of want like a sign that we can place. Okay, so we'll add that prop there. And then underneath this room, we'll paste in this interactables. I said under the room. We'll delete all the other ones. delete, delete, delete. And then in here, the trigger name will be the same as this value, forest W01 branching paths. So that'll be the trigger name. This will be an interact cutscene, and the display will be read. So that'll be the same. So if we hit save on this, no errors, we should be able to walk up to this chest and pretend it's a sign and have a little cutscene play. Interesting. Does not work. All right. Edit script. Interactables. Get component and children interact tile. All of these work this way, so it should have just found one. Oh, I didn't actually move where it was, did I? No. I just placed the chest there and assumed that the thing would be in the same spot, but it wasn't. So it was some random tile in the bushes where the actual interact was. So we'll change it to be on the tile where the chest is, and now we should be able to walk up and interact with this object, which will play out the little cutscene that we built. Okay, so then I guess continuing down the line of potentially breaking stuff, if we wanted to replace this treasure chest object, if we came into here and open this up, click on classic chest, go to sprites, renderer, classic chest object. If I was to open that in a sprite and we were to replace this with, I am not as good as Drixie on this stuff, but we will do, well, it's a big pixel. Let's do this. Let's do a darker one. Go pixel size 1. Go around the outside. And then something like that. And then maybe we just even let my pencil kind of scribble a little bit for us. I don't love it. Sure, let's go with that. Okay, and then we'll just kind of like do that as like some writing for it. Okay, and then I'm going to save this out. We're going to put that in the same location. We'll call that 24 because we didn't change the canvas. Sign. Okay, so we'll save that. And then if we see that sign is here, if we go into our tools, IT, props, import, drag this sprite folder to prop, and we run the forest props, create tiles. Hopefully this doesn't break everything. I don't know why I have a lack of faith in my tools, and that does look like it did generate a proper prop. So if we come back into here and we populate options, it should update here from 69 to 71. So there was 2 props it added. Okay, hopefully that's fine. Nothing else got modified or changed, which is good. And then if we click on the 6-8, we should be able to now change this to a sign. And I didn't really draw it isometric, so we can try running this and see what it looks like. I might have a cheap fix. Technically, we could make it into a wall prop so it is drawn diagonally. Yeah, it's way too short for the character. Perspective's all off. Okay, couple of things. Let's move the interact over to here. Let's change 7, 11 to have a left wall, which will be our sign, like so. We'll clear the sign from here. And then unlike the other one, which was billboarded, this one's like kind of diagonal in the space, which means that when we actually walk up to it with the camera angle, it'll look more isometric. Zoom in. Yeah. I mean, that's not perfect, but that feels better. I guess one thing I could do if I wanted to be kind of playing with this a little bit more, although we are pretty much at time here for the stream, we'll do one last thing. So if we turn off the interact to read for a second here, if we add this as a custom prop instead, preset left wall, change it to the sign, we'll delete the sign from the default section, then we can change the pixel height of this object, so we can actually raise it up so it's like midway up the log, which could read a little bit better. If this is the case, we probably don't need the extra pixels on the bottom. So I might just quickly just see how this looks. Because if we're placing it on the side of a tree, it doesn't really need the indication of a post. Okay. So then we'll give that a try. We'll save and then give this a run. I lost track of chats. All right, we're good. We're good. And that is a sign that looks way more at the correct level. Oh, I turned off the interact, which allowed me to select the thing I want to select, but then made it so that it was no longer exporting. Cool. But that's basically it. I think we did a really good, like, we made progress. Even if it's not the correct progress or answering the questions I'm stuck on in terms of game design, I'm moving forward. Yeah. And this upgrade to the map editing system, although not fundamentally kind of like, we could have done this all with the existing tooling we had, but it's just so much faster and easier to kind of get something templated in here that doesn't look perfect, but definitely looks better than just a flat floor. And still tells the story of like walking around a forest, even if the floor isn't perfect and the props aren't exactly what I would place myself. This is generating something that's at least good as a placeholder, and we're able to create way more maps more quickly. So tomorrow we'll probably work on getting some more maps in, as well as there's a couple other small things. Well, I don't know. We'll figure out what tomorrow looks like when we get to tomorrow. The one thing I'm noticing even here, and there's going to be a ton of this stuff that if I really dig, there's a bunch of small bugs, but in a couple of spots now, I've wanted to have my interacts be facing based. So like, it doesn't make sense to read the sign here, but I do want you to be able to read the sign here. So I think having the ability to set an interactable to have a specific facing that's required is something I might want to work on. It's very small, not super required, but I think could be another thing that we tackle tomorrow, because it is a bug on the back of my mind that I'd like to fix. But yeah, this is productive. This is super productive. Thanks everyone for hanging out today. Appreciate the hydrates, and I appreciate people coming in chatting, first time chatters. We will be back tomorrow from 10 a.m. till noon PST, and from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. PST. Discord is always the best place to get kind of updates on that information. I hope people enjoyed, and for now,